To MedFiles, I'm Dr. Ian Smith. Perhaps nothing is so scary to a patient or a doctor as when something goes wrong in the brain. Sometimes the problem goes away on its own, sometimes it can be treated with drugs or surgery, and sometimes there's not much that can be done at all. Today we bring you the stories of 3 patients, each facing terrifying brain problems and each finding the courage to seek radical solutions. We begin with the story of a girl suffering from a devastating and mysterious problem, and the cure the doctors propose sounds much worse than the disease. Robert Bazell takes us on a journey to the frontiers of medicine.
Everything you do, say, see, think, everything you are, all shaped by the most complex living structure in nature, the 100 billion nerve cells of the human brain, an instrument of astonishing power, except when it doesn't work.
Are you having a seizure right now, Kasey?
Yes.
This is typically what happens?
Yeah.
13-year-old Kasey Caves' brain is out of control. For the past 4 years, it's been ravaged by epilepsy, a neurological condition that makes people susceptible to seizures. Kasey's seizures are caused by brief electrical disturbances in her brain. These storms of the brain disrupt communication between nerve cells. Wave after wave of epileptic seizures, often hundreds each day, have nearly destroyed the young teen's ability to use her right arm and leg, to speak, and even her ability to think.
You like some water, Kasey? Is that what you're wanting?
What?
You want a drink of water? Is that what you're wanting?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay.
This is the story of the courage of one young girl and the faith of her family. It's also about the frontiers of medicine, attempting to understand the human brain, and the heroic efforts to save a single life. Happy birthday, dear Kasey. Kasey Caves from Tulsa, Oklahoma, had been a bright and healthy child and the pride of her mother, Regina.
This is a child that made straight A's and she didn't have to do anything, and now she just struggles to do the simplest task.
The first sign of trouble began on a hot summer day.
First seizure, major seizure, about the 4th grade.
When we first met Kasey, she had a clear memory of that day when her life changed forever. But her epilepsy had damaged her ability to talk about it.
It was hot day.
She was walking around the room with her head jerked and she was snatching things from the air. And her whole right side had kind of tightened up and her face was kind of drooping. We ran her to the hospital.
It was epilepsy, but not the more common kind that can be controlled with medication. She had a rare and devastating condition called Rasmussen syndrome.
It starts in one place and gradually, like a Pac-Man, eats more and more away.
Dr. John Freeman of the Johns Hopkins Children's Center is the expert Kasey's parents turned to.
The only thing that can happen is that it will get worse. If it's on the left side of the brain, as with Kasey's case, they will lose language and they will lose intellect.
Dr. Freeman offered Kasey's parents a very surprising remedy.
The only way of treating it is to take out that bad half of the brain.
Isn't that a very primitive kind of medical treatment?
It's a terrible kind of medical treatment. It makes no sense to cut out half of the brain, but it's the only thing that works.
The operation, called a hemispherectomy, is brutally simple to understand. Surgeons remove the entire left half of Kasey's brain, the half of the brain that is the source of the seizures. The empty space would fill with spinal fluid. And while a human being can survive such drastic measures, there are extraordinary risks. Kasey's parents looked at their precious 10-year-old and could not imagine her with half a brain. For them, it was an impossible choice.
Johns Hopkins had called us and told us that, this is what your daughter faces. And I was very rude. I said, no way. We'll fight it. We'll beat it. I won't do this.
My reality says you can't do that. You can't live through something like that.
Hi, Kasey.
So for 3 difficult years, Kasey's parents tried everything else. Minor operations, special diets, blood transfusions, and powerful drugs.
Have you taken your pill yet?
Yes, I'm just taking my pill.
Kasey's decline continued. Still knowing the terrible risks involved with the surgery, her parents couldn't bring themselves to go ahead with it. But the disease was destroying Kasey's brain. She couldn't keep up in school. So her parents finally agreed to go ahead with the surgery. For Kasey, there had never been any doubt. She had always wanted the surgery to rid herself of the horrible seizures. Her parents had finally caught up to their daughter's resolve.
It got so bad, she was doing so poorly, it wasn't fair to her. No, Kasey wanted a life, and Kasey deserved a life.
But what kind of life would it be? What doctors hoped for was an amazing transformation in Kasey's brain. They hoped that when the diseased left half was removed, the right side of Kasey's brain would reinvent itself, taking over the thoughts, memories, and language that had been on the left. But this operation had worked best in very small children. The doctors did not know if it would work in someone as old as Kasey.
So Kasey and her family prepared for the worst, calling on their deep religious faith. Since the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body, the surgery could leave Kasey's right side paralyzed.
There's your favorite cookies out there.
So in the weeks leading up to the operation, this girl practiced how to live using only her left hand.
She eats with it, brushes her teeth. Been trying to practice getting those shoes on with one hand, but boy, that's hard.
That's hard.
And because the left side of Kasey's brain controls language, the surgery could leave Kasey unable to speak. So she practiced sign language.
Thank you, you're welcome. Yes, no, eat, drink.
We're hoping that's going to be helpful if we have some language problems after surgery.
But no.
No.
As the day approached for Kasey's surgery, friends visited to say goodbye. It was just a matter of hours before the family would leave for Baltimore. For the doctors at Johns Hopkins, it is no routine event. Kasey could die during the surgery, or she could survive without thoughts or speech.
It's awful. It's awesome. It's frightening. And anytime we go into this, we go in with fear and trepidation. But the family has to be on our side.
Wes Caves was not sure he was on the doctor's side. In a cruel twist, just weeks before the scheduled surgery, Kasey was able to get up out of her wheelchair, which gave her father one last chance to question whether they should go ahead with the radical surgery after all.
Does it make you wonder if you want to go have the surgery?
Yes, go ahead, that surgery.
But now that you can walk, so you still think this is what we ought to do, though?
Yes. This is a good day.
This is it. Everyone knows we're heading out of here, and we're trying to start this trip.
After 4 years of anguish, hesitation, and prayer, the moment for the surgery had arrived. In a 12-hour operation, the doctors removed the diseased half of Kasey's brain. Where once there were billions of brain cells, now there was only empty space, the white area in this brain scan. Kasey survived. Her seizures were gone, but it would be weeks before anyone found out just what price this former straight-A student had paid.
Patients may see surgery as the quick way to a cure, but doctors know that sometimes the hardest part is the recovery. When MedFiles continues, Kasey's tough road back.
You're watching Discovery Health Channel.
Thursday at 8, only on Discovery Health Channel.
Right leg.
It is 10 days since surgeons removed the left half of Kasey Caves' brain. Her head is temporarily swollen. The change in her appearance is painful to see. She is in rehabilitation in Baltimore.
Good job. Do you feel me? Do you feel it more?
Her right hand is now paralyzed. Her right leg is weak, almost useless. And there's something else. Before the surgery, Kasey had been a bubbly and optimistic teenager.
All right, you go ahead first.
Now she seems disinterested.
I don't care.
You don't care?
Even angry.
Push into my hand over here.
Can't do it. Yes, you can. Can't do it.
Okay.
And though she can say simple phrases, adding to her agony is a profound loss of language.
That wasn't good. Let's do that one again.
The terrifying epilepsy is gone. In its place, a swirl of confusion.
We need to look in here for a small square.
The right side of Kasey's brain is all she had left. But remember, the doctors had told Kasey's parents that the right side would get stronger, rewiring itself to take over the functions of the left half. But 10 days after the surgery, there's no sign it's happening.
You drink out of it?
It's a week before Christmas, just a month since the surgery. Kasey and her family are back home in Tulsa.
Let's do bridges first.
Okay.
She continues with her grueling day-by-day therapy. Gone are the cane and wheelchair she needed just 3 weeks ago.
20.
Her right side is remarkably stronger. Repeated practicing with the leg helps Kasey's brain to find new pathways to control it.
Okay, forward and back.
And while Kasey's upbeat mood has returned, she is still fighting a heartbreaking battle to learn to speak again.
What color is this?
Uh-oh.
The sky is...
Yeah?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Remember I had jeans on the other day? What color were my jeans?
Jeans.
16.
It seems impossible that the right half of Kasey's brain could take over and allow her to speak again. However, decades of research show that our memories, thoughts, and words are scattered throughout our brain and not concentrated in just one place.
Wait, come on.
It's like a field of hay. It's grown up. There are no pathways. The words are hidden as treasures here, there, and everywhere. They've got to search around to find the right word.
He has a hard shell on his back. Neck goes in when he gets scared.
When they find the right word, they've bent the grass a little bit. When they find that word enough times, they've beaten a path to that word, and it comes back.
What color was that rabbit?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Not again.
Remember the jeans? Kasey, go put on your...
Okay, jeans.
Jeans. Not green jeans.
Blue jeans.
If you took out the left side of my brain, I wouldn't speak again, would I?
Probably not. And the reason is that your right side of your brain, the ability to find language, has been buried too long. If we did that for you at 10, I can assure you that you will talk again.
Oh, no.
But Kasey is not 10. She's now 14. The question looms, is she too old to reclaim her speech? Her father, Wes, is still wondering if they did the right thing.
You sit here and you look at this and it's like, it's not like you have the choice of going back.
It's April, 5 months since the surgery. Kasey's body has become markedly stronger. Her right hand remains weak, but with just one arm, she swims laps easily. With a brace on her ankle, she can walk even better than she could before the surgery.
Good.
And most important, the disability her parents feared most is getting better. Kasey is beginning to speak again.
What's our season? Spring. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What color do I have on? Blue. And you? And red. That's right.
In July, 7 months after her surgery, Kasey returns to Johns Hopkins for a checkup.
Can you give me 35 cents?
It's Dr. Freeman's first chance since the surgery to examine Kasey and to talk with Regina.
Has Kasey forgotten anything?
She remembers everything. She can remember things when she was little bitty, and we'll go someplace and she remembers it.
We've affected her performance.
It's true.
Which is coming back.
Right. Slowly, but it's coming back.
This isn't slowly. Okay, slowly is in the eye of the beholder.
In fact, just a month later, Kasey returns to school for the first time in 2 years. She's a freshman at Jenks High School.
That's good.
While Kasey will always have some language impairment, no one can say how far she will ultimately improve. However, Kasey and her parents now expect she'll live a normal, healthy life.
Is it getting any easier for you now when you try to talk?
Yeah.
But it's still tough, right?
Yeah. Lots of, you know, or, you know,
Yeah. Can you think of the word in your mind?
Yeah, but I just can't get out.
You know the word, but you can't get it out.
That's right.
One by one, Kasey is conquering a mountain of challenges to her independence. 1 year after her surgery, she took up skiing.
This is great.
And in the summer, snorkeling is her passion.
It was terrifying to me to think that she was out there swimming and she only had one arm and one leg. But she'd put the mask and the flippers on and away she'd go.
Hi, how are you? Good,
As a high school senior, Kasey has become accustomed to using her left hand in her day-to-day activities and needs very little help.
Oh, wait, top one? Yeah.
Doctors say Kasey's impaired right side won't improve much more.
Don't burn yourself, Kasey.
Just as her body is adapting after the surgery, so is Kasey's brain.
How is it with your speaking now compared to the last time I saw you?
It's doing better.
But sometimes you still have to struggle, right?
Yeah.
But right after the operation,
I can't.
you couldn't say blue. You couldn't say blue.
Right, and so it's like...
Now, but if I ask you what color the sky is, you say?
Blue.
But reading is the toughest of all.
Oh, man.
And that is a big struggle, right?
Very, very, very. S-I-P-S-I.
When doctors removed the left half of Kasey's brain, they not only took away her language center, but also her ability to read.
Next.
So this hard-working teenager spends at least an hour every day after school learning to read again.
X. I'm a cautious driver, safe driver.
Her parents say she confronts this challenge with the grit she's shown her whole life. Determination they're sure she'll continue to display.
She wants her independence. I mean, she's already told us she doesn't plan on staying with us forever. She wants to leave this place and live her own life, and that's what she should do. That's what growing up's all about.
I feel very lucky.
If somebody said to you, you're an amazing example for so many people, what would you say?
I don't feel like amazing person. I feel normal. I mean, like, you know, have my brain cut out. You know, that's a big deal.
You can say that so easily. I had half my brain cut out.
I mean, it's no big deal. I'm really blessed. Yeah, that's it.
Kasey's brain is continuing to rewire itself. Doctors are confident that with her neurons changing every day and with her hard work, Kasey's life will improve steadily.